Hey there, how's everybody doing? Hey, I wanted to share something I learned, some insights from an experience. So, I was at a business workshop called Birthing of Giants a couple of weeks ago, and one of the days they brought in a guest speaker, JJ French, who was the lead guitarist and business manager for Twisted Sister. And if you're like, who's Twisted Sister? Just go right in here into YouTube, Twisted Sister, and you'll know exactly who Twisted Sister is. Um, but it was fascinating sharing. JJ's written a book, which admittedly he gave me the book, and I have not read it yet. So admittedly, he gave sort of a summary of the book, but so I won't cover those parts, but I will share a few of the nuggets that I got from spending time with him. And he presented to our group, and then he was with us for lunch and dinner. And I sat with him at lunch and had an hour to pick his brain and just understand the mind, the business of rock and roll is really, really interesting. And so here's some of the highlights. He had talked about, and what I wrote down statistically doesn't make sense. So you'll find the flaw, but he talked about you get really good. And because he says, I don't even consider myself an amazing guitarist, but he said you get really good at your craft with lots of practice. And he had talked about how many shows they played at the early days. And I wrote down 3,500 shows in the first 2 years. That doesn't work. That's like almost 5 shows a day without taking a break. Even if it was 350 shows, that still feels like a lot of shows. And what he had talked about is some of these kind of early today, you can kind of get exposure so much faster with social media, but that's not the point. It's just this idea. And actually, I had just put together a video about meditation, if you've watched that or seen that. But this concept of 10,000 hours, which for meditation, I think meditation kind of goes in dog years, but I just shared that because of my 10,000 minutes of meditation. So just this idea of, to get good at anything, you've got to put forth a lot of effort. He talked a lot about, he shared a lot of, I mean, his life has not been easy. A lot of things have gone wrong in the business and the band in his life. And he said journaling has saved his life, literally. And you look at the rock star JJ French, and then I saw this 70-year-old refined version. But he's like, even in his 20s and 30s, journaling, being able to just think through. And some of this now I'm sharing based on confirmation bias for me, but because I found so much power in clarity breaks and thinking time, which I've written about in the past, but getting these things out, challenges you're going through, just getting it all on paper versus, I feel like, puking it to colleagues, friends, spouse, whatever. So that's one of the nuggets, journaling. He talked about a lot about, if you are prepared, and I think this is part of like the practice, but if you are prepared, the opportunity will arise. You are always ready for that opportunity when you are prepared. And so just basically live every day in preparation for that opportunity. And he talked about, which I thought, especially in the service business, or if you're in any sort of service related where you're delivering, I mean, his product obviously is a show, but it's like a professional service. If you kind of think about it, whether you're an athlete or you're an attorney, you're providing a professional service. And so he talked about, they as a team, as a band, they had committed to, look, we're going to go out and we're going to deliver a 10 every night. These people paid for it. They expect it. And yeah, sure, it might be a smaller venue there. And I'm not a big concert guy, so I'm not going to name venues, but whether it's like, big venue in Central Park versus Madison Square Garden versus some little boutique, you know, sort of shared with an opera type venue. He said, we give a 10, and that's what gets people talking and coming back, is constantly delivering at a high level. Um, Hopefully something in that I shared. The book, I think it's called Twisted Business. He shared a lot. The Twisted, he's come up with acronyms, and there's a lot of great things in there about inspiration, stability, trust, excellence. So feel free to check out the book, and hope you found some value in this. Have a great day. Thanks.